Welcome back, my dear friend. Welcome back to your own midnight journey. My name is Elias Greywind, and tonight I'll be the voice that stays beside you as you gently drift toward deep, restful sleep. Out there, the world is winding down, the noise is fading, and your body is beginning to let go. Now, just imagine you're stepping into a place unlike any other, a place where time once pulsed with pride, but now only soft whispers remain. Whispers, weaving between the trees, swaying gently in the wind. Let your breath slow just a little more and soften like a breeze slipping through leaves that have already fallen asleep. Breathe in deeply and breathe out slowly. There's no need to rush, no need to think. Just be here, right now. You're in a safe space, a space without the noise of the world, without the race of the day, just you and your breath and the feeling of sleep drawing close. Now, let your body melt into the bed, dissolve into the velvet night. Picture yourself lying beneath a quiet sky, surrounded by the hush of the forest, with silver moonlight spilling softly between the branches. And in this place, there's a story that has slept for many, many years, a story that only the quietest hearts, the gentlest minds, can truly hear. You're about to hear it, not with your ears, but with your heart, with something deeper, tucked far inside your soul. Let the thoughts fall away. Let the soft glow of this forgotten tale guide you, slowly, tenderly. Now, you're ready. Now, I'm going to turn off the screen. We've seen enough. Images have already found their way into your mind. Now it's time to let your eyes rest. The screen will gently fade to black. There will be nothing more to see. Only my voice and you. The story will continue in this quiet darkness where nothing will disturb you anymore. Because the night is meant for listening, not for looking. So now, lie down. Let your body melt into the pillow. Take one deep breath and close your eyes. I'll be right here, telling you a late night story, just for you. And on that night, there was a place where sleep could not reach, unlike the comfort you rest in now. A place where darkness didn't cradle dreams, but brought fear. Where 9,000 souls all at once were left without beds to lie in, without roofs to return to. That place was Tel Aviv, on a moonless April night, when the sky above no longer offered stars to admire, but threats descending like flame from the heavens. Then, at 1:30 a.m., the sirens wailed. Tel Aviv woke with a jolt, People fled their beds, grabbing nothing but their slippers and ragged breaths. A little girl screamed awake, her mother whispering, "It's okay, sweetheart. We're just going down to the shelter." But even she wasn't sure if okay still existed tonight. 300 missiles pierced the sky, some intercepted, some found their mark. Entire apartment buildings rendered apart, windows shattered, staircases collapsed. Some woke from deep sleep to find ceilings had vanished above them. Morning came, and disbelief filled the streets. Glass shards littering paved roads. Ambulances lined silent avenues. And 9,000 people had nowhere to go home to. No luggage, no plan, only feet and heavy hearts. They were shepherded to stadiums, gymnasiums, schools, places once full of daily life, now makeshift sleeping quarters. An elderly woman curled into a corner, barefoot in her nightdress. Beside her, just a plastic bag holding a cone and heart medication. "I didn't have time for clothes, just enough for my pills," she whispered, and fell silent. A little boy sat cross-legged on the floor, asking his mother, "When can we go home?" She didn't answer, just looked to the bare ceiling and squeezed his hand softly. Night fell again, the first night, when 9,000 people slept nowhere familiar. The ceiling now corrugated metal, the floor hard concrete, the blanket an old coat, the pillow a memory. No one slept. Some drifted for minutes, then jerked awake at a cough. Some lay eyes wide open, others closed their eyes, but their minds stayed rooted in reality. It was that first night when sleep disappeared entirely from Tel Aviv. And that is where our journey tonight has begun. On that night, each in these makeshift rooms, built from paper-thin walls, lined with plastic sheets and worn-out blankets, there are thousands of people trying to do something simple, but suddenly so impossibly hard. Sleep. Dina, 73 years old. She lies on her side on a borrowed mattress, tucked in the hallway of the city's old sports center. Her striped nightgown still carries a streak of undissolved detergent. She didn't bring her heart pills. She didn't bring a pillow. She only brought a plastic bag holding an old photograph. Herself at 27 with her husband, under the olive tree in their backyard. Every time she closes her eyes, she hears the explosion again, though it's been hours. She turns. Her back aches. The cold settles in. But what truly keeps her awake is a quiet question that echoes in her mind. If I don't wake up tomorrow, will anyone remember I once lived on the 5th floor? In the far corner, Yoni, 6 years old, leans against his mother's backpack. He's not crying anymore. He just stares up at the new ceiling, a patchwork of metal sheets, and asks in a whisper, "Is my teddy bear still in our room, Mum?" His mother nods, but she knows the 9th floor, where their room once was, is now rubble. He sleeps, sitting up, fingers clenched tightly around the backpack strap, clinging to something familiar, maybe out of habit, maybe out of instinct. Eli, 42, doesn't lie down. He sits by an old window where hospital lights flicker in the distance. Back against the wall, hands resting on his knees. His wife and 2 children, exhausted, sleep curled up on a single tarp laid across the floor. Eli doesn't close his eyes. He used to be a technician, a man who trusted numbers. But tonight, no calculation matters. He doesn't know when safety returns. He doesn't know when home returns. And what finally breaks him is realizing he couldn't keep a promise. Daddy will always protect you. A vow he made to his daughter on her 5th birthday. Tears fall without sound. Just a damp streak on the sleeve of a faded gray shirt. Lior, 31, a doctor, had just finished a hospital shift when she learned her apartment had been hit. She arrived at the shelter still wearing her surgical shoes, bloodstains fresh on the soles. She didn't speak much. She only asked for a notebook and wrote all night. "If I don't write," she scribbled, "the sound of that collapse will replay inside my head." She wrote about her orange bedside lamp, the Shiba Inu mug, the smell of burnt toast every morning. Small things, but they were home. A soldier just back from Gaza sat quietly. He didn't talk about war. He only mentioned the small, pale blue pair of socks in his breast pocket. They belonged to his daughter. I had taken leave to be home for her birthday, but now there's no home left. Here, no one screams, no one shouts. They simply stay awake. No one says it aloud, but everyone knows. If they fall asleep, they might dream of their old home, and when they wake, they lose it all over again. Some lie down, but don't breathe evenly. Some doze off for minutes, only to jolt awake at the slightest sound. Some wear earphones, never playing music, just needing to feel in control of something, anything. And some just stare into the empty space where once stood a kitchen, a bedroom, the sound of footsteps each morning. Now, only a crack in memory remains. 9,000 people, 9,000 thin blankets, 9,000 reasons not to sleep. And yet, every one of them longs for just one thing: to feel peace one more time. Quiet of the night when everything feels blurred and still. Some things that seemed meaningless suddenly become everything. A young man named Reuven carries with him a coffee mug, not for drinking, but because it belonged to his father, who passed away last year. That mug still felt warm every morning, he says, back when the kitchen was where the day began. Now the mug has a chipped edge, but Reuven won't wash it, because the thin layer of dust on it came from the old apartment, the last thing that still carries the scent of home. A little girl named Tamar, 10 years old, brought with her a small tin box of stickers, cats, butterflies, and one heart-shaped sticker, golden. I stuck it on my bedroom wall, she says, but today the wall is gone, so I peeled it off and brought it with me. She sleeps holding that tin to her chest, like a shield between her and a world falling apart. A middle-aged woman, Yael, carries an old paperback, The Millionaire Kid. Not because she loved the story, but because it was the book her husband read to her when they were newly married, during blackout nights in old Tel Aviv. She opens it at night, not to read, but to see the underlined words her husband marked in 1999. Page 103. This part, he said, we'd read again when we had a child. There's a man who brought nothing, but in his shirt pocket, a single glass marble. He says it belonged to his little brother, who passed away years ago. I don't think it'll protect me, he whispers, but I believe it reminds me to survive. These objects, small, light, worn, are quiet witnesses to lives that truly existed. They can't stop rockets, they can't rebuild roofs, but they help people remember who they are in a world where everything else has been washed away. As the night grows deeper, these little items are held tighter. Maybe that's the only way these people can stay grounded in reality, in a world where a home can disappear in a single second. Are you still there? If you're holding on to something familiar, a blanket, a pillow, maybe even an old phone, then know this: you still have something to hold, but some only have memories left. Let me continue this story. Together, we'll listen to the sounds of a night unlike any other. A night no one dares to call night, because it offered no sleep, only the long wait for dawn. At 3 a.m., the shelter is still lit, not because anyone needs to be awake, but because no one wants to turn the lights off. The soft yellow glow hums like a quiet anthem. We are still here. We are still awake. By the edge of an old basketball court, once a place for kids to run and laugh, a young boy draws in a borrowed notebook with a stubby pencil. He sketches his old home. Green walls, a bunk bed, a window facing the sea. But when he reaches the roof, he pauses. I don't remember what the roof looked like, he whispers to the man beside him. Then, slowly, he tears the page from the notebook and tucks it under his pillow, as if what we forget deserves to be kept in pictures. A circle of women sit close together, passing around a warm bottle of water. No words. Each one takes a small sip, then closes her eyes, as if savoring the memory of a morning that never came. Someone clutches a phone to their chest like a pillow. The screen is black, no signal, but they still hold it, because it's the only thread that might still lead to someone on the other side of the city, someone who might still be alive. A teenage volunteer, not yet 20, walks bed to bed. He doesn't carry food, just a small Bluetooth speaker. He presses play. Soft piano fills the room, like an unspoken apology for the people who can't sleep. Yet. Nearby, a middle-aged man stares out through an open door. A breeze drifts in, carrying the scent of dust and something sharp, like scorched metal. He whispers, "When I was little, I used to think night was when people dreamed. Now, I just want the night to pass, so I know who made it through. And so it goes. Ordinary people with what used to be ordinary sleep, now just waiting for light, for news, for something that feels like morning. No one dares name that night, because naming it means it becomes part of your story, and no one wants that. You're still here, aren't you? If you're listening to these words, thank you for staying with me deep into this quiet hour of the night. Not everyone can fall asleep right away, just like not everyone has a soft bed or a warm, golden bedside light. But if you do, take a slow breath and know that tonight you are one of the lucky ones. Because somewhere else, someone was not allowed to sleep. They were the ones who stayed awake to hold life together for others, even as their own homes had just fallen apart. 2:47 a.m. Inside Ichilov Hospital in Tel Aviv, a young doctor named Lior is still stitching a little girl's head wound caused by a shard of glass from an exploding window. Lior is 31, unmarried. Her home, on the 6th floor, was hit by a missile just 2 nights ago. She left with nothing but her white coat. Still, that night, she showed up at the emergency room. No one called her. No one forced her. She just knew someone out there was hurting more than she was. While dressing a man's burn wound, she whispered, "I'm sorry. The bandage might stick a little. Just hold on, okay?" He nodded, and then asked her softly, "Do you still have a home?" She paused, and then she nodded too. But only she knew that nod was a kindness, not the truth. After her shift, Lior sat on the stairwell between the 3rd and 4th floor. She stared down the hall, where a patient had just fallen asleep for the first time in days. She opened her phone, launched the Notes app, and typed, "Tonight, I bandaged 4 people, helped a premature birth, and drew a roof with a child who had forgotten what one looked like. But I still haven't drawn the roof of my own home." In her pocket, she carried one thing, the old key to her shattered apartment. She kept it, not out of hope she'd use it again, but because it was the last token that reminded her she once had a place to belong, even if only in memory. That night, she didn't sleep, and the next morning, she was back on shift again. When someone asked, "Aren't you tired?" she just smiled and said, "Of course, but if I don't do this, who will?" And just like that, in the middle of ruin, there are still those who choose to be keepers of the flame. Not because they're stronger. You might be asleep by now, or maybe you're still listening in a quiet room somewhere. Either way, I hope you'll carry one small thing with you from tonight. To be grateful for the ordinary, and to love deeply while you still can. Because for 9,000 people out there, ordinary is a luxury. So I wish you a peaceful sleep, and if you dream, may it be of a place where everyone has a home to return to. And as for me, I'm Elias Greywind, and I'll always be here, standing quietly at the gate, on the border between your reality and your dreams, waiting for you to return whenever you need a story. All you have to do is want it, and you'll find me again in the softest corner of your soul. If you'd like, every night to come with a place to return to, a gentle voice to walk you through old memories, come visit Stories for a Restful Soul. Tap subscribe on Elias Greywind, Stories for a Restful Soul, and I'll be there every evening to tell you another story about towns that have fallen asleep, people who've quietly disappeared, and the most beautiful things that even time can't erase. Sleep well, and I'll see you in the next dream.